Today we are going to be combining your extension with your 3-beat. And this is probably going to be one of your first combinations of two different types of things. So we're combining a weave and an extension to do this. Specifically, a 3-beat weave and an extension. So we already know how to do extensions at this point, where we can do it with one arm, and we can do it with the other arm. So we can go both ways with it. And we can do this, extensions both ways, one at a time. If you can't do that, make sure you can do that. You're going to need that. So to do a 3-beat extension, what we're going to do is when you're doing your 3-beat, I'm going to do mine forwards. As you are doing your 3-beat, you will notice that you use kind of swaying motion when you're doing it. Your body is actually turning a little bit. So if I stood completely still on an axis, you're kind of turning when you do it. Now, as you're doing that, also take notice that when your right arm goes to your right side, so my right arm goes to my right side, it can actually just kind of fly out a bit. You're going to need to use that point to do your 3-beat extension. And keep in mind the timing, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And you're not going to start with your right arm. You're going to start it with your left arm. So when this is coming down, your right arm is coming down to the right, you'll notice that your left arm comes up. And we know that up motion from when we were doing our extensions in the forwards direction. That's where we're going to start our extensions, with that left arm. And the right one is going to follow that. And right now, if I were to combine these two together, they're going to hit. Because my left arm is kind of straight right now, because it's on this side. My other one's coming in at this weird angle. It's not going to work. So what you do is when you're doing your 3-beat and you reach this motion where your right arm's coming out and your left arm's coming up, we are going to turn in that direction. We're going to move our body. So we're going to switch from this plane to this plane. That's what we're wanting to do here. So we can do that extension. So as you're doing it, right one comes out, the left one comes up right there. As it comes over, turn your body with your right foot. At this weird angle here, and come up. So if you need to practice, you can actually do your weave and come up. You already know your weave from your X. As your X goes to your right side, go up, and then come back down. And as you're doing your 3-beat, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to start it with your left arm, but you're going to follow your right arm, which is a bit confusing, and I do apologize for that, but your left arm is the one that is starting it. It's just easier to watch where your right arm is going. So your left arm comes up there, and we'll do it. So first, let's go ahead and get our timing. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Make sure you have that perfect. If you don't have that perfect, this is going to screw up. And we're going to do it, comes apart. And this motion should feel kind of awkward when you first do it. When you bring your arms apart for the first time after doing 3 beats, you're going to not know what to do. You're going to do this. You're not going to have any momentum, and you're just going to drop. That's normal. Just keep drilling this motion. And remember, your left arm is the one that really needs to be pulled, because it's going up immediately. Your right one isn't. Your right one's going down when you start this. So just pay attention to your left one when you're starting this. because it is going to be important. And when they come together, your arms are going to be crossed again. We don't want to be standing here when they're crossed. We do not want to be facing this direction. We want to be facing this direction when they come together. So we come apart here, and as it's coming back down together, you're going to turn back. So your arm motion, this is my right arm, is going to be like this. Again. Not bad. And this motion is how you do an extension on your right side. But if you notice that when your right arm is on the top, your left hand here, can actually come out to the left. Just like your right came down and out to the right, your left can now come down and out to the left. So when you're doing it, you're turning, coming back, turning, and coming back, turning, coming back, turning, and coming back. And this is going to make things easier for you to do. If you don't turn, you're going to hit yourself and it's not going to work. So we're going to do it, and we're going to time it out. The best way to think of an extension is think of it as 2 beats instead of 1. That way it's easier for you to know what's going on. So if it's 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And you'll notice that I'm going slower, and each one of these is technically 2 beats. We want that motion where we slow it down. We want that to be 2 beats, because that's going to give you that really good illusion that you're slowing it down, even though you're not really going faster. You're just moving your arms. And just practice this until you can get it down. And if you need to, find an anchor point. Find a way that you can step. For me, the easiest way I found to do this is to have your right foot forwards and to pivot as you're doing it. Because I can turn my body straight, and I can turn it this way. If I need to turn over there, my dominant side, I find it easier to take a step back than it is to switch my footing and go over there. It's all preference, just finding a footing that will work for you. And once you're good at this, the next thing you're going to want to do is on your 3-beat extensions backwards. Now, your 3-beat extensions backwards are going to be at different points. So your 3-beat extension backwards, or a reverse 3-beat extension, you're going to do it as they're coming up. We're going to switch sides as they're coming up, as they're coming up, as they're coming up, as they're coming up. Oops. Then turn back. As they're coming up. And eventually you'll be able to do your 3-beat extensions really well. And then once you get good at these, you can do them in forwards and reverse. You're going to need to know both of these. This is not a thing you can skip, else you won't be able to learn one of your first combinations of moves, the waist wrap. So get both of these, get to where you can do this, and you can do it large, and you can do it small. I typically tell people to extend their arms as much as possible when you're doing this, because that's going to allow you to deal with it in a much better way. If you have your arms close to you, you're probably going to Not move them the same length apart from that focal point that you have with your extensions. So one will be like all the way out here, one will be just barely out. You got this awkward motion now where one is not going correctly. And we don't want that. So when you take your arms all the way out, they're already balanced. And that helps some people with their extensions when they're trying to learn them. So get both of those down, and then we can start on our waist straps.